We have 44 superintendents who have been handpicked, have been very carefully tested, and are now in the field with both accountability measures over principals, but also responsibility to support those principals in some way. When you have accountability and support in two different streams, you really do not have an accountability system. If the person who's going to assess you is not the person who's accountable to support you, you don't have what it takes to move a system. But we cannot forget the joy of learning. And to me, this year alone, we added an extra $23 million in the arts. We need middle school kids to play the band. We need kids to have the sense of beauty, because it's not all about reading and writing, although obviously it has to start there. It's about singing. It's about dancing. It's about being joyful when you come to work on a regular basis. And school for our kids is work. The salary increase is not based on your test scores. The salary increase is going to be on how much you're willing to give away what you learn to others. And the more you give things away, the more you learn for yourself. If you have to open your doors to someone else, one of the things that happens, you have to get better at what you do. Because if someone comes in and is in a different kind of district or school than you are, you have to adjust what you do to help them. And that is what real educators do. They share, they collaborate, and you can never be bored. We learn from each other. We don't need to pay $50,000 for an expert to come in to tell us how to do the job if we find the best people and we encourage them to share with each other.
I simply do not believe that throwing more money at the problem is going to give you the result that you need. I think we cannot continue to kid ourselves. It's not just about resources. It's about changing practice and infusing that change of practice with the appropriate resources that allows a school to build capacity. But it is a collaboration. It's between community, it's between the teachers union, it's between the school district, which is New York City here. And I think they've got to make a decision. How long do you stick with a failing school? I think from the perspective of the state, the opt-out movement reflects really an issue that I've spoken about before. It is a real communication failure between the state education department, our legislative leaders, our governor, our mayors, all over the state, in terms of getting out a message about why standardized testing provides an important set of data points. Not the only set of critical data points, but an important set of data points.
Opting out is a symptom of the crisis that we're facing in our system today. It is problematic that test results are coming out in August so that educators and parents are not able to use that information in the classroom to drive instruction. So when we think about opting out and we think about decisions that parents make for their children, I think it's a symptom of a much bigger issue that we're going to have to address as a system.
Testing plays a really important role in our education system. A lot of the stats that we've seen today to talk about the gaps that exist, the challenges that exist, we're only able to make those measurements because we have tests that are in place, but we also need to make sure we have the appropriate role for tests. And I think that's another factor that's been driving a lot of this, is how are we using them in a way that's meaningful and fair? How are we using them as a factor in teacher evaluation, but not making them drive teacher evaluations?
I don't want to leave this room with a misconception that before a formal evaluation system was put in place that started to use student test performance as part of the evaluation, that we were living in a utopian world, right? So we had a system in place, quite frankly, where 99.99% of every teacher in the school system was being granted tenure after 3 years. Very few questions asked. It was a rare occasion when someone was not granted tenure after 3 years. Tenure is a very big commitment on the part of a school system to that teacher, to their professional development, et cetera, et cetera. It shouldn't be taken lightly.
And if I know that I can trust my colleagues, my supervisors to have honest conversation with me, to give me the tools that I need in order to make progress, then I'm going to be willing to take the risks and to do the work that needs to be done in order to improve myself as an educator, rather than feeling fear and stress in the work that I do.
We have been changing standards in the United States since 1647. It is true. And the bottom line is, changing standards isn't a negative. One of the other panelists talked about the fact that it has become high stakes, and it's been done in an environment that has not created trust. And it's very difficult to change in an environment where the people that you expect to implement the change don't trust. And I think we've got to go back and rethink some of the ways that we've done things in the past in New York. I think we've got to look at those standards and review them. And I think we've got to look at assessments. You brought that up a few moments ago. I think certainly we need to review assessments. And I think the whole system of evaluation we need to review in the context of changes that come with standards and with the assessments. Now, you can imagine the complications of doing state assessments in a computer-based environment, but it's really important. So that means that we've got to have teachers using technology in their classrooms in a normal way, not, oh, it's a special day today, we get to use something. This is a normal thing for us to do.
It's focusing on the regions. It's like starting building a building on the 30th floor rather than starting from the foundation. And the foundation starts very early on. If you ask a second grader and up, what's the most hateful topic in school, it's going to be math. And as far as I'm concerned, when I walk in the street of New York City, there are more pizza joints than broccoli joints, because people are not going to spend their time and energy on looking for broccoli if a pizza is more tasteful. Same thing with math. The attitude is very negative, and we try to look for why math is so difficult. And we identified 3 reasons. One, teachers in elementary schools are jack of all trades. They are the Swiss Army knife of teaching. They are great at teaching, but they are not necessarily great at math. In addition, adds the test pressure into the equation, and they teach the kids many, many times tricks and techniques. How can I get a good grade? How can I solve the equation? Not what's the fundamental of math. And
whatever pulls that kid in, or exciting literature at a topic that they enjoy. Until 5th grade, all I read was sports books. And that engaged me to be a lifelong reader, and then I branched out into other subjects because my mom told me if you don't read something other than sports, then you're going to be really pigeonholed into what you do. And I said, oh, that's fine, I love sports. But clearly I've branched out a little bit, and it's worked out well in order to just engage the students and make sure that you're individualizing, and that's really where technology comes into play.